And welcome to the block. I am your host, Kyle Johnston. It's for the late night addicts and the early morning coffee drinkers. So we talk some sports, break down the games, do some handicapping, talk a little bit of pop culture, hot topics going around the world. And I try to provide you with as much music as I can legally provide you with. Been off for a few days. I was up north near Algonquin Park, enjoying my Canada Day. After living in the concrete jungle for 22 months, I needed some wilderness. I needed to shut everything off. It was nice not looking at my phone for a few days, even though I was bombarded with messages and emails that I'm going to get to here in the next couple hours. I got some other things I'm doing apartment hunting, getting that stuff settled. I'm currently on location at my parents' place. It's kind of nice to be back for a couple weeks. But sports never dies. The machine keeps on rolling along. I was, like I said, up north, so I didn't get to watch the Euros. But Iceland's magical run came to an end last night, or yesterday afternoon, depending on where you were in the world. Congratulations, Iceland. Sigurdsson and the boys, Johansson. You guys put on a hell of a performance, man. A hell of a performance. The only thing is that you're kind of upstaged by Wales. You know, if Wales wasn't doing what the Welsh were doing, Iceland, man, you'd be the talk of the world right now. But you got, the western side of Europe fixated on Wales right now because they're going on their own magical run as it is. And a lot of people are putting Wales down before the tournament. And I was one of their backers. I said how Gareth Bale goes is how Wales goes. How Wales goes. And exactly that. Robinson Cano's been a vital weapon off the bench. Ashley Williams is playing some of his best football, leading the back line. Shows you why some of the bigger clubs in the Premier League did have their eye on him at one point. Arsenal being one of them. But congratulations, Iceland. Congratulations, man. I hope you guys make it back. I know that you guys just missed out on the World Cup in Brazil. So, this isn't a one-trick pony. You guys are building up a proper soccer foundation over there in Iceland. I hope to see you back. You guys are fun. You work hard. You show that, a little bit of teamwork. A little bit of hard work, and dreams can be accomplished. They didn't really want to go out losing 5-2, but they won the second half. They beat France 2-1 the second half. So good on them. Congratulations. And I look forward to Wales. I was shocked. That was one of the shockers when I woke up Sunday morning and checked some of the scores. And I had the over in that game. So when I saw that I cashed the over, I was like, all right. I figured Germany might win 2-1. If anything, I think there would be a couple goals, 2-2. I figured Germany could at least get 2 goals on Wales. But a 3-1 outcome for the Welsh. Holy shit. That's one of the biggest wins in European history right there. Even though Belgium isn't quite the superpower that a lot of people believe, they're up and coming. They're going to be steady. Do I think they're ever going to win something? I don't know. I just don't trust them. But as we saw, they got a lot of firepower. So good on them. Ashley Williams notched a goal. Robinson Cano, like I said, notched a goal. They didn't even Gareth Bale. But Gareth Bale does enough on his own. Even when he's not putting the ball in the net. Now we got Gareth Bale versus Cristiano Ronaldo. Real Madrid teammates going at it. 2 of the most expensive players in the world. It's going to be very interesting. There'll be a lot of bragging rights. You'll see a lot of the Spanish media coming up with rivalries between the two. I've heard a lot of good quotes from Ronaldo about Gareth Bale in the past when he first moved over from Tottenham. Kind of showed him the ropes a little bit. I do honestly believe that there is a genuine friendship between the two. I just, Ronaldo's a pretty private guy. For as much attention as Cristiano Ronaldo gets, in the world with his six packs that girls die for and his rocket shots and the goal tallies he puts up. You never really hear about Ronaldo outside of the pitch or outside of the world of football. I give him credit. You really don't. You hear him linked to some supermodels here and there, but it is what it is. But especially in the no mercy media that the European media really is when it comes to football players, you really don't hear about Ronaldo a whole lot. You don't hear about Gareth Bale at all. So I do think there's a genuine friendship there. I think it'll be a great match. You're going to see both players trying to one-up each other. I think this is the perfect match for Ronaldo to wake up, for all you Portuguese supporters out there. This is the perfect game for Ronaldo to wake up and show up at. He does show up against players like Messi, like Gareth Bale, like Ibrahimovic, some of the best in the world. Ronaldo doesn't like being second best. Oh, he hates it. Oh, that's one thing I'll give about him. He's a competitor. He'll show up. So that's going to be an interesting game. Very interesting game. And Portugal find themselves in the semifinal of the European Championships. They haven't even played a full 90 minutes. They haven't even played a quality 45 minutes. So we still have yet to see the best of Portugal, which is not very good for Wales. I think it's going to be a tough match for Wales. I know Pepe, center back for Portugal, is a little banged up. But so is a bunch of the Welsh players. Ashley Williams is a little banged up. Guy's been a heart and soul. Like his shoulder, his arms, all messed right up. But Pepe, he'll be in there. Pepe, one thing I'll say about Pepe, he's a warrior. A lot of people may not like him. Maybe a dirty player, but he comes to play. He'll be there. He'll be leading the back line for Portugal. But I look for two big performances from the two big superstars. I think we're going to see it. Obviously, they're going to need a little bit of a supporting cast. That Renato Sanchez for Portugal's been a hell of a player. We're definitely seeing what Bayern Munich is getting under their, 30-some-odd million euro player. He's got a lot of quality. He's a big boy for 18. Holy shit, man. Between him and that Briambola guy, oh my god, these fucking kids at 18 years old, man. So I look forward to the Euros. We got a couple days to break them down. Wales and Portugal are up first. We'll break that down. Germany and France can the home nation beat the world champions. That's going to be a hell of a game. That's going to be a throwback European Championship game. That's going to be a hell of a game. We're going to see pace, skill, heart, and desire in that match. I can tell you that much. Germany versus France. So I got a couple days to break them down. I will get to that. Last time I left you on my podcast, though, I was running my mouth about the Montreal Canadiens. I was running my mouth about PK Subban, how he's not going anywhere. And sure enough, as soon as I ended my podcast, picked up my phone, and my phone basically exploded with text messages and notifications about PK Subban being traded to the Nashville Predators for the one Shea Weber. Now, been a diehard Montreal Canadian fan for years. Patrick Roy is my favorite player of all time. I can tell you what, this one definitely ripped a spot out of my heart for the Montreal Canadian organization. I can tell you that. It's like, what, Montreal? You don't want superstars in your team? You don't want young superstars? You don't want to set new examples in the NHL? You don't want to set new trends? Now, I'm furious. Still furious. Getting over it a little bit, obviously. It is what it is. Like, what can I do about it? It doesn't mean I'm not going to stop supporting the Bleu Blanc et Rouge. But furious. Furious for the fact that we traded a 27-year-old superstar up-and-coming player. Top 10 defenseman right now with a potential to be a top 5 defenseman. So what he's not on Team Canada? Like, I didn't even want him on Team Canada for the World Cup. They have a season to get ready for. So I hope Carey Price doesn't even play. Carey Price can play one game. Kind of get ready for the upcoming season. That's about it. Like, the Habs, man, our window's closing. And Mark Bergevin and the Molsons, they know it. Now, this doesn't help. This helps for the present. And I mean, like, 1 or 2 years on the present, man. But this doesn't help, going down in the future at all. It was kind of nice to have a core of Gallagher, Subban, Price, and all that moving into the future, even after this window kind of closes a little bit. But Shea Weber, 30 years old, he's got a few years left. Like I say, he's got 4 or 5 good hockey years left for $7.5 million cap hit. He's got 10 more years left on his deal, for fuck's sakes. He's going to bring a lot of leadership, but I'm worried about those years after 4 or 5 years already, man. He already showed a little bit of signs of slowing down last year. He was a minus player for Nashville. They didn't have to depend on him too much with Roman Josi and Ekholm and Ellis all coming up in their system. Like, look at fucking Nashville, man. Still one of the best blue lines in the fucking NHL, and they traded away Seth Jones and they traded away Shea Weber. What does that got to say? Now, I would have liked to get my hands on Roman Josi, but that's another story for another day. So, Shea Weber, he's had the most power play goals. But he does exactly what PK Subban does. He's got the big booming shot, so we got to get him the puck. Just like we had to get PK Subban the puck, for him to use his shot on the point, now we got to get the puck to Shea Weber. Which is still a problem for us, because we haven't really signed anybody else to fucking solve that problem. And Andrei Markov, as much of a foot soldier Andrei Markov has been for the Habs, he's definitely showing signs of slowing down. He can still make a pass, but still. We obviously saw in the last 2 seasons, the second half of the season, he slowed down quite a bit. Quite a bit. We're going to have to depend on Nathan Beaulieu a lot, the Habs. I think Beaulieu and Weber should be the first power play pairing. But fuck, man. Like, I'm still furious about the trade. Like, fuck, man. I know we saved, $1.2 million on the cap with it too as well. So what, man? The city adored PK Subban. PK Subban adored the city. It was a perfect fit. So what, our captain didn't like him? If our captain didn't like him, he's our captain, man, for a reason. Maybe he should look at himself in the mirror. So basically, Michel Therrien and our captain, Matt Pacioretty, got their way. If there was obviously a handful of other Habs players in there that didn't really like Subban that much either, but you guys get paid a lot to be professionals and come and play. It definitely didn't hinder Subban's performance. 22 goals last year, 50 some odd points. A lot of people are like, oh, he's tripping over the blue line. You see that. Well, the only reason why you see that on the fucking sports highlights because it's PK Subban. If he was some... And yes, I understand that it's a head coach's worst nightmare to see a defenseman circling back, doing circles, spinoramas, backhand passes across the ice, flipping the puck over the top. Yeah, I understand that. But you know what? I'd rather have one of my guys be creative than be dull. I'd like to see some style and some flair and some personality from my sports superstars than a guy being a robot. You know, that's what North America wants their athletes to be, is a bunch of robots. Well, I don't like that. I like to see personality in the game. You know, sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's positive. Most of the time, old school coaches and management find any kind of personality distracting and negative. Any kind. Any kind. They all want them to be like Tom Brady and stuff like that. And Tom Brady is a superstar. But he is kind of dull outside the game of football. Even though he'll do anything to win. But, yeah, absolutely furious. So, yeah, the head coach, Therrien, Bergevin, Matt Pacioretty, they all got their way. Now, I wish Subban nothing but the best of luck. I'm very happy that he says he's going to continue to do his work at the Children's Hospital in Montreal. And I hope that he continues his work outside the rink in Nashville as well. He's going to love Nashville, and Nashville's going to love him. They haven't had a personality in sports like PK Subban there in Nashville in a long time. And I'm a Tennessee Titans fan. He's a Steve McNair kind of guy. You know? Obviously 2 different people, but that's kind of how he is. You know, like he's going to be doing his videos. He's going to be out in the town. He'll do a bunch of cowboy and country stuff. I can already see it. He'll definitely be a big personality, and he'll grow. He'll grow from this experience, and he'll grow from his experience in Nashville. For sure. He'll be able to walk around sometimes without having the cameras all over him. He'll enjoy it. So I wish Subban nothing but the best. And I can tell you what, Shea Weber better get off to a pretty damn good start. Because the fans in Montreal will be out. They'll have the pitchforks out. There'll be a lot of bloodlust. Shea Weber doesn't come and perform right off the hop. The fans will be all over him. The fans will be all over the management, Bergevin and Therrien. And I'm still interested to see what the Molsons have to say about this. Molson's been quiet. I wouldn't mind a statement from the Molsons, because I know the Molsons were highly involved in signing PK Subban. So I wouldn't mind reading a couple quotes from the Molsons. Now I am just getting back home. Got home late last night. Was an eventful trip home from Algonquin Park, from getting pulled over by the cops to the battery dying in the truck, driving the wrong way. Fuck, man. Should have took us only a half an hour to get into Bancroft, but it took us like almost an hour. We were all over the place. But anyways, that's a story for another day. That's just what happens when you're driving around up north. Now, I'm glad I wasn't driving. I was just in the passenger seat, go along for the ride. But I tell you what, man, sure glad to get home. But, Subban, enjoy your new home. And Shea Weber, you know, it could be worse. It could be the Edmonton Oilers and Taylor Hall and Adam Larson. Don't understand that deal at all. Don't understand it. I know they replaced Taylor Hall with Milan Lucic, but just don't understand it. Straight up. And now a lot of people are saying, oh, what about Subban for Taylor Hall? Well, yeah. I'll be a little bit happier just with the age, with the potential. But Weber does bring that leadership. He will mesh fine with the new guys that we brought in, like Shaw. That new kind of little core, I can see it. I know he's Carey Price's friend as well. They go back a long way. Western boys. But he better get off to a good start. I was going through a couple potential pairings. Like, I don't even know, like, is Markov, I don't think Markov is a good match with Shea Weber. He's not fast enough. You need a guy with some quick feet back there. Because, like, as good as Shea Weber is, he's not the fastest guy in the world. You know, he's got a good outlet pass, very good positioning, owns the front of the net. Like I said, brings a lot of leadership. Power play, penalty kill. But I've always noticed that Nashville always had someone fleet of foot beside him. Except for maybe Ryan Suter. But he was a talent in his own right. I can tell you that much. So I was thinking about Nathan Beaulieu maybe. You know, seeing if he can take Nathan Beaulieu to the next level. And having, like, you know, Petrie and Markov play together. And Emelin kind of hold down that third line with one of the youngsters. I still like Emelin. He's losing a step or two. But he still plays hard. Great penalty killer. Kind of plays that little dirty role we need. So I was thinking Nathan Beaulieu is probably the best matchup for him. But I'm not quite sure. But the Habs went and signed Radulov from the KHL. When free agency began, kind of continuing this new look for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, it obviously kind of reminds you of the Semin deal, you know, 1-year deal, but this guy's got a hell of a lot more talent than Alex Semin. He's got a little bit more desire. Now, he had a lot of maturing issues and growing up issues playing over here with Nashville early on in his career. Hopefully, going back home for a few years has kind of helped him grow up. I think it has. I think it usually does. In a way, you kind of go there. You're not really knowing what you're to expect, and then I can understand. I can understand him wanting to go home and kind of growing up a little bit. He had a few good years over in the KHL. We got 1 year, $5.75 million. Took most of our cap that we had for signing players, but he's the talent that we need, the talented winger we need in our top 6 for sure. Like I was breaking down the Habs depth chart the other day, we were sorely lacking a winger in our second and third line, even a winger that can go up and play on our first line. And maybe push Brandon Gallagher down to the second line. But, he's not a sexy pick, but I think he's going to do the job. He's got a lot to prove. And if he wants the money, if he wants a contract, well, he's got the opportunity to do it in Montreal. He's going to have plenty of time on the power play, plenty of time playing with a couple of good players. Now, is he the guy that can help us get the puck to Shea Weber on the power play? I'm not quite sure. I think the guy is Chucky. We need Galchenyuk to step up this year and solidify that first line center role. Pick up some apples, dude. You're playing with Pacioretty. He's a natural goal scorer. He's going to get near 30 goals. We need you to distribute the puck, Galchenyuk. Win some draws, play some good defense, and distribute the puck on that top line, especially if Radulov and Pacioretty are your line mates. And the Habs went and picked up Zach Redmond, kind of shore up the defense with some experience. Picked up Al Montoya to kind of shore up our backup goaltending situation with some experience. Our AHL goaltending situation, other than Fucale, is kind of thin. So you're going to see probably Mike Condon and Fucale kind of fight it out for the number one spot in the AHL. And you'll have Al Montoya giving us some security behind Carey Price. I kind of questioned that, off the hop. I was like, why are we wasting almost $1 million over a cap when we can easily just have Mike Condon as our backup goalie? But a little bit of competition, and players get hurt. Players get hurt. That's why, even Zach Redmond's going to go a long way. You need 8 or 9 capable NHL defensemen throughout the whole year. Don't know much about Zach Redmond, but we got him pretty cheap. 27-year-old defenseman. He's coming over from the Colorado Avalanche, it looks like. So he came over from the Colorado Avalanche last year. 37 games for Colorado, 6 points, 10 penalty minutes. Started his career with the Winnipeg Jets. Never really had too much of an opportunity. Spent most of his time in the AHL. Like I said, he brings a little bit of experience, something that we definitely need on the back end. I don't know if Johnston's quite ready. But we can go down the highway and take a look at the Toronto Maple Leafs. They made a couple moves, nothing significant. I thought they'd be a lot more. They'd be a lot more busy, a lot more active on the NHL market come July 1st. Whether it was trades, whether it was signings, I thought we'd hear a lot about the Toronto Maple Leafs just tinkering with their roster since they have so many options. Whether it's prospects, whether it's draft picks. Now they do have to get Nathan Horton and Jeffrey Lupul on the long-term injury reserve to kind of free up some cap space. I'm not too certain on the Jeffrey Lupul situation with his back and stuff like that. Obviously, we know Horton's going on. That clears up $5.3 million. If you add Jeffrey Lupul and his $5 million contract, well, there you go. And I still think Jonathan Bernier will not be a Toronto Maple Leaf when this season starts. He's making $4 million this year. That's some cap relief for the Toronto Maple Leaf fans as well. Now, they did sign Matt Martin from the New York Islanders. The winger, the fourth-line winger, best fourth line in the NHL, hitting machine. Him and Kyle Clutterbuck were quite the fucking tandem. He's the perfect player for him. Perfect player for him. $2.5 million cap hit. I don't know if he's worth $2.5 million, but personally, for a team that's as young as the Toronto Maple Leafs, and a team that, is kind of starting to bring up their skilled players rather than their grinders in the AHL, from the minors, I think it's a perfect fit for them. Now, come maybe year 3 and year 4, they're going to kind of hate that $2.5 million contract, but they got a lot of cap room coming up in the next few years too, so not the worst thing in the world. He's going to be exciting. Toronto Maple Leaf fans like their blue-collar players. They always love their average players. They're going to love Matt Martin. And another thing, Toronto Maple Leaf fans, I know you got all these young players coming up, and you're thinking, you're dreaming. Right now, you're dreaming none of gumdrops and stuff, but you're dreaming of William Nylander and Matthew Marner and Austin Matthews all playing together. Well, I don't think it's quite going to happen. I think Nylander and Matthews got their spot. Nylander has a spot to lose. He'll make the team, unless he plays himself out of the spot in the training camp. Now, Mitch Marner, I don't think there's any reason to bring him up right now. When you got Shoshnikov, you got Lipsick. Where's some of their other guys waiting to come up? So you got Kapanen, you got Lipsick, you got Shoshnikov, you got that Connor Brown. You have a handful of players that have done their time with the Marlies that are ready to make that jump. Kirby Reichel, there's another one. See, Kirby Reichel's got a spot, just like William Nylander, a spot to lose. He's had a little bit of NHL experience with the Blue Jackets. I think he's ready to make the jump. I don't think he's anything more than a third or fourth line winger, but he's the type of guy you want to learn from Matt Martin. Very similar player, A little bit more offensive skill than Matt Martin, but very similar player. So I don't think Marner. I think the best thing for Marner is to go back down to the minors, captain Team Canada in the World Junior, get some more experience. I know it sucks that you can't put him in the AHL, but it is what it is. And I think it's the best situation for him right now. And then you'll be able to bring him up next year. After Nylander, Kapanen, Shoshnikov, Matthews have all had a taste of the show for a year. And then they can help him out. It's a slow process. There's no sense rushing it, in my opinion. You know, they brought in Roman Polak. Sorry, they brought Roman Polak back into the fold, kind of shore up that defense. They needed a defenseman. They needed a defenseman badly. Frank Corrado, I'm not very big at. I think that Zaitsev, the Russian defenseman, kind of takes his spot on the big club. So you got Morgan Riley, Gardner, Roman Polak, Matt Hunwick, Zaitsev, and I think that Marincin guy, I think they like him a lot. I think he'll be fighting for that last spot. They could use another defenseman or two. You know, I was talking about 8 or 9 capable NHL defensemen over the years. Obviously, they'll give a couple shots to some of the youngsters like Connor Carrick. So at least they're going to have an interesting team. They have a nice mix. Like, I forgot about the Milan Mahaliks of the world playing for the Leafs now. They got Brooks Light. He'll be a nice leader for them. But the team that kind of scares me in the East all of a sudden a little bit is the Boston Bruins. You know, just kind of taking a look at what they're doing. They're going to have a couple prospects coming up. Now, I didn't like their drafts the last 2 years. But eventually, some of those kids will come up. They'll make some of an impact. But going out and signing David Backes for the Boston Bruins... Like look at their fucking centermen. David Krejci, Patrice Bergeron, David Backes. Like, who the hell's going to want to go up against that three-headed monster? Now, David Backes can play the wing if he feels like it. But, man, that's a three-headed monster down the middle. You're going to have the likes of David Pasternak having a full year on the show, and this kid can score goals. Brad Marchand, obviously, he's not going to have the year he had last year, but very capable player. Matt Bielexi, very streaky. You know, they went ahead and re-signed Torrey Krug. Colin Miller starting to grow up in his skates. Same with Kevin Miller. 2 young defensemen starting to grow up in the league. John Michael Lyles, Adam McQuaid provide some nice leadership. Obviously, Zdeno Chara is losing a step, but, you know, he's still Zdeno Chara. And I think Tuukka Rask rebounds. He's not going to have nearly as bad of a year as he had last year. He's still a hell of a goalie. Definitely a top 10 goalie in the NHL. If not fighting to be in that top 5 when he's really on it. He's still a hell of a goalie. He will bounce back. And he will lead the charge from the back end. Like I said, they got Zach Senshin, Zach McIntyre, you know, Jacob Zorbrel. They have a couple guys in the junior there. You never know when they're going to come up and make an impact. Some grinders like Zach Ronaldo is sitting there in the minors. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with Boston's minor league system here, except for their recent few first-round draft picks. But they also still have some wiggle room, Boston. They still have some wiggle room. They got about $8-9 million in cap space. Now they have a couple RFAs they have to re-sign, which will cut into that. So you know, they got about $5-6 million, to be honest with you, really to spend. So they still have a lot of wiggle room. They've kind of got out of their cap problems over the years. But man, having David Krejci, Bergeron, and Backes as your centerman, potential top 3 centerman, holy shit. It's not good news for Montreal Canadian fans when we're struggling to find a third-line center. Like David Backes, or Bergeron, or Krejci versus David Desharnais, or Jacob Delarose, or Torrey Mitchell. That's just not going to cut it. So that might be a big problem. That'll help Boston go back to a nice their defensive ways, too. They'll be able to shut down that middle of the ice. But enough with the NHL. We also got some big news in the NBA. I was trying to get this podcast going, you know, as late as possible because the Kevin Durant said he's going to tell the world what his decision's going to be. And as I update ESPN, there's a July 4th update, and it says Kevin Durant
had a conversation with Jerry West, who's an executive.
Coach, we don't need to hear you right now. Coach, one of the WWF legends, WWE legends, has kind of made his way in the sports world. Good on him, but we don't need to hear you. So it says Kevin Durant announced on the Players Tribune that he's heading to the Golden State Warriors. He's expected to sign a 2-year, $54.3 million contract. Wow. Fucking in the Golden State Warriors. How you like me now? They have a little bit of work to do. You're going to have to work on some depth players. It means obviously the likes of Harrison Barnes is gone. I'm not quite sure what the contract situations of a couple other players are like Iguodala or Livingston. But to be able to put Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, and Draymond Green on the floor at the same time is pretty fucking dangerous. That's real dangerous. Now everybody's going to be talking about can they top 73 wins. It's the first thing that jumped in my mind. I don't think they will. They're going to have to, it's going to take a little bit of time for them to come together. That's a lot of players on that floor that like to touch the ball. But that's dangerous. That's extremely dangerous. Wow. And a 2-year deal for Golden State Warriors gives them enough flexibility for when Steph Curry and Klay Thompson's contracts come up. They'll have some cap room and some flexibility to re-sign them or take a look at what the roster is really all about. Maybe they decide to go with Draymond Green over one of the Splash Brothers. But wow. That leaves a big void in Oklahoma. It obviously means that Westbrook can either decide to be the king of Oklahoma and re-sign, or he's going to take off, which in the NBA is probably going to leave. I wouldn't be shocked to see Westbrook in the New York Knicks, to be quite honest with you. Big city in New York, fashion industry. Westbrook loves the fashion. I wouldn't be shocked to see the New York Knicks knocking on Westbrook's door next year. But anyways, wow. Kevin Durant, Golden State Warriors. I'm on my sports book right now, so why don't we check out and see if there's any, see what the futures are like.
Do you think it's possible, first of all? Well, yes.
We don't need to be seeing some Olympic qualifications between Greece, Iran, basketball. That's not what we need to hear. Golden State Warriors, minus 110 to win the NBA championship outright. Cleveland Cavaliers are sitting at plus 350. So the ball's in your court now, Cleveland. What are you going to do? You know the Cavaliers are going to respond. You know they're going to respond. Dwayne Wade's sitting out there. He's looking for a home right now. He's ready to leave Miami. But he's clearly stated he wants $20 million a year. I was reading about the Milwaukee Bucks. I was reading about the Denver Nuggets. Milwaukee's interesting. He played his college ball at Marquette. That'd be very interesting. I don't think it's quite the team that he would really want to be going to, in my opinion. But I'm kind of shocked to see that Dwayne Wade's name's still out there just because it's Dwayne Wade's name. And, you will make money off Dwayne Wade's name. But after the Kevin Durant situation just went down, we'll see a lot of rumors, a lot of people knocking on the door of Dwayne Wade. He's supposedly on vacation in Europe, make his decision when he gets back. So he doesn't seem too worried about his situation if he's going on vacation in Europe. Wow. I've also was reading that the Toronto Raptors are one of the front runners for Pau Gasol, which is a very smart signing if the Toronto Raptors can pull this off. He can walk right into their starting power forward position. He can help give a lot of guidance to the younger Toronto Raptors players. That Jakob Portal guy, there's no one better to learn from than Pau Gasol. Very similar player. Very similar player. Very similar qualities and skills. So we'll see if the Spurs are the other front runner. So that's a tough team to battle with when it comes to free agency. Especially now that the Spurs lost out to Kevin Durant, they'll be able to throw some money at Pau Gasol. So between the Raptors and the Spurs are second place, in my opinion, in the battle for Pau Gasol. But if they can pull that off, man, that'd be pretty cool. They say the Blazers are in the mix, but I don't think so. It's the Spurs or the Raptors, and the Spurs have some money to chuck around. The thing is do the Spurs need another big power forward? Darren Williams, agreement with Dallas Mavericks. He is just such a Dallas Maverick. We'll see him quit in about half of his games next year. Matt Barnes signed to the Sacramento Kings. That's fucking hilarious. That's just typical Sacramento Kings. Now, the Rajon Rondo to the Chicago Bulls is interesting. I think he's a great player to match up with Jimmy Butler. I think Rajon Rondo's starting to figure out his role a little bit in the NBA. He knows he's getting older. He knows his body's beat up. I don't think he quite wants to be the man, but he has no problem being a 1B or number 2. I think he'll fit right in. Hearing rumors about Manu Ginobili coming back. Just kind of flying through some of this stuff. Wow. Kevin Durant, Golden State Warrior. Whew. I wonder what the totals are going to be on those games when they first come up. I'll be keeping an eye on the under in a couple of those totals when they first come up, because like I said, it's going to take them a little while to get used to each other on that court. But when everything fucking finally clicks, man, it's going to be dangerous. Now, I don't have the privilege of watching basketball for as long as a lot of experts. I do love the game. You know, I obviously kept an eye on it when I was young. Now I really watch it a lot, say in the last 4 or 5 years. So, you know, I'm not familiar with, the Showtime Lakers that much and the Boston Celtics back in the day. Obviously, I remember the Bulls of the 90s because I grew up, I was young in that era. I remember all of those teams of the Bulls. Now, a lot of people are going to be comparing those two teams together, saying, is this really the best team that the NBA has ever put on the court? And I'm like, I don't know, man. But it's fucking pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Now, Al Horford going to the Celtics is not good news for the Raptors. The Boston Celtics are getting better and better each day as the new season starts. Well, the off season. Celtics have done good between the draft, between getting Al Horford. They've just put on a lot of talent. A lot of talent. The kid from Cal, Al Horford, combined with the emergence of a lot of their other young players that grew up for the Boston Celtics this year. It's not good news for the Toronto Raptors. One guy I was hoping the Raptors might go for is Ryan Anderson. But he's going to the Houston Rockets for some big money. Doesn't shock me. One story that's kind of interesting here is the Mike Conley story. See if I can go find it here. Mike Conley signed the biggest deal in NBA history. People are saying, Mike Conley? Who's Mike Conley? Not Durant? Not LeBron James? Well, LeBron James is still yet to sign. So I think LeBron James' ego is going to want to trump this. But the starting point guard of the Memphis Grizzlies for the last few years, Mike Conley, is pretty good, averaging about 13 points a game, almost 6 assists a game. Very good defender, kind of makes the Memphis Grizzlies kind of roll. He was hurt a lot last year, played with the mask. I think he had a couple facial injuries. He ran into a couple other problems. But he was one of the best point guards on the market. He was capable of coming into your team and making a difference. Well, he re-signed with the Memphis Grizzlies for like 5 years at $133 million or whatever it was. Technically the biggest deal in NBA history. And it's like, holy shit, Mike Conley? Making $30 million with the likes of, Kobe Bryant made $30 million. Michael Jordan was up there. And he ain't Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, I can tell you that much. Fucking pretty interesting, but that's the new NBA. That's where we're at. So the sports world is changing a lot, very quickly. Very, very quickly. Especially with the talks of Los Angeles getting in some sports markets. They already got the NHL going there. Baseball, NHL, they all have their eyes locked and loaded on it. I think the NBA will get there first. But I'll end it with a little analogy about the PK Subban situation that I heard from Sports Rage, Gabriel Morency. I'll take it a little bit further. He was talking about, you're living in a nice neighborhood, you just bought the nice house, you got the nice pool in the backyard, you got the nice big garage, you got a couple nice cars parked outside there, but you go inside the house and you realize the contractors didn't quite do things properly. And we got some cracks and some leaks in the foundation that people can't quite see from the outside, but from the inside, you're like, holy shit, we need to fix this thing. So, you try to do some things here, you try to do some things there, but eventually, to make yourself feel better or whatever, you go and sell one of your nice sports cars in the driveway and replace it with another fucking, like an SUV or a Hummer or something like that. That's what he was saying. And I agree with it. Instead of fixing the fundamental problems inside the house, you went and made yourselves feel better by taking a Ferrari and getting a Hummer. So, I just don't quite understand it a little bit. Bergevin always said, take a deal to knock his socks off. If that's the deal that knocked your socks off, Bergevin. Holy shit, man. Holy shit. But it is what it is. I'll be over it in a few days as I get back into the world of sports, handicapping. It was nice to have a few days off. Got a couple sports picks for you here. I'm going to ramble off very quickly. I don't have very much. Still have Germany futures in the Euro 2000s, so that's nice. But I like the Tampa Bay Devil Rays at minus 115 to beat the Los Angeles Angels. Matt Moore's on the mound for the Rays. Tropiano's on the mound for the Angels. I like the Tampa Bay Rays at minus 115. San Diego Padres and the Arizona Diamondbacks are playing in the late game. Archie Bradley's on the mound for the Diamondbacks. Perdomo? Is that how you pronounce his name properly? Perdomo's on the mound for the Padres. Perdomo's putting together a solid season. Archie Bradley, he throws some heat. He can strike out some batters. He just got to, it's the long ball. The long ball's hurting Archie Bradley. But the total in this game is 9.5 runs. I like the under 9.5 in the Arizona Diamondbacks San Diego Padres game. Kansas City Royals. The hated Kansas City Royals, if you're a Toronto Blue Jays fan, come to town to take on the Toronto Blue Jays. Edison Volquez is on the mound for the Royals. Aaron Sanchez is on the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays. As it stands, the Blue Jays are minus 200. We're seeing some line movement. They're about minus 190 about an hour ago. Total in this game is 9 runs. I like the under 9 runs. I think we're going to see a nice little pitching performance. Aaron Sanchez is pitching to prove that he should still be in the rotation. Kansas City Royal bats haven't quite woken up this year. I think we're going to see a nice little pitching duel at the Rogers Center tonight. So I like the under 9. And in a little MLS action tonight, we got the Los Angeles Galaxy. They're hosting the Vancouver Whitecaps. As it stands right now, the Galaxy are minus 163 to win. Whitecaps are plus 400. It's plus 300 for a draw. The total's gone under in 4 of the last 5 games. It kind of make me lean to the under, but the Whitecaps have been leaking goals. The Whitecaps have the potential to score goals. The LA Galaxy haven't quite put it all together. So I think we're going to see one of those scrambly, weird kind of MLS matches tonight. I do like the over. We're seeing some movement from the over. It was like minus 145 not too long ago. We're up to minus 150 right now. I like the over 2.5. If I had to choose a side in this game, I would probably lean maybe to the LA Galaxy, I guess. If I like the under, I'd go with the draw. If you like the under, go with the draw. If you like the over, go with the Galaxy. I think the Galaxy are going to win 2-1, maybe 3-1 here. Kind of put it together. Dos Santos has the potential of scoring a couple goals by himself. So other than that, I'm glad you could join me. Keep an eye out for my podcast. I'll keep them out coming consistently. Find my work on Twitter at KJ_the_block. Find my work on my blog site, KyleJohnstonTheBlock.wordpress.com. And remember, If you're not laying money on the table, you're not winning.